Hello, friends, and welcome to Rise Up in Real Estate, where we are on a quest. We are looking for the extra in the ordinary. And I'm Tad Fulford, and I will be your host on this journey where we will take an honest look at what makes ordinary people extraordinary. Exactly how can we be extra in our personal and our professional lives? In this season of the Rise Up in Real Estate adventure, there will be a monthly rhythm, meaning each month we will have 4 unique episodes. In one episode, we'll tackle a pressing current real estate industry thought. In another, we will chat with a local difference maker in the real estate space. For our 3rd episode, we will host a respected national thought leader. And finally, we will have a 4th bonus and surprise episode. And in each episode, we will be digging into not only what those people think, but who those people are. Along the way, it's my hope that you'll laugh some, you'll be challenged some, you will get inspired some, and if we are lucky, maybe even figure out a way or two you can rise up in your own life and be the best human that you can be. So the challenge is, let's all rise up. Rise Up Nation, you are in for a treat today. And I know I've said that before, but I'm going to introduce you to a dear, dear friend and mentor of mine that has had a profound impact on my life, my wife's life, my business. More than all of that, though, I mean, he's got a great business acumen. More than that, he's just a great human being. And I am so proud to have him on this show. I would like to introduce you to Mr. Sammie Knight. Sammie, say hello to Rise Up Nation.
Hello, Rise Up Nation. It's such an honor to be here with each of you and to be on a podcast with Tad. I mean, it's like being at a park bench sitting there talking to your brother. It's just so cool. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and that's exactly how I feel about you. Is we're like, if I had an older brother, I would pick you. Like I really would. I mean, you just have meant so much to me, and it's fun. You might be able to tell from Sammie's accent that he's from upstate New York.
Yeah.
Sammie, tell me your story, buddy. Like, where were you born? I don't even know if I know that. You're not the youngest guy I've ever interviewed. Tell me where you were born and a little bit about yourself. I want to get your story out for the people to know.
It's pretty cool to be told you're not the youngest guy that I've interviewed. That makes me feel good that I'm still here.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, I was born in Kentucky, and we lived there until I was about 2, and then we moved to what we always call our hometown, Oxford, Mississippi, and home of the Ole Miss Rebels, who are now 7-0 and ranked number 7 in the nation. Not a plug. And I met my high school sweetheart here, and we continued to date, and then we got married and lived here for about 5 years, moved to Nashville, and started this crazy whirlwind life that we have, and I traveled a lot and raised a family, and I'm just a blessed man. You always hear the old adage that God takes care of drunks and fools, and he really took care of me.
Yeah, that I know a little bit about your story, and I appreciate that. What I love about Sammie, so are you an Ole Miss fan? Is that what I gathered just now?
Yeah, I kind of am.
The Rebels, you're a Rebel fan, yeah. and they have, I don't know when this episode will air, but they've had a great start to the season. That's exciting. There aren't too many undefeated teams. What is it you say at an Ole Miss game? What's the
hotty toddy?
Hotty toddy. Okay. We got. Is that where Blindside? Is that where the Blindside guy was? The guy.
It is, and it is 100%.
That's
absolutely.
I love that. That's a great start. And you're one of the few people that I know that knows how to say the word. I'm from Alabama, by the way. I was born in Dothan, Alabama, but you are one of the few people that says Mississippi with 2 syllables.
Yeah, that's right. It's Mississippi. I mean, that's all there is, isn't it? Mississippi.
I don't know. When I was learning how to spell that when I was a kid, it was like MISSISSIPPI, but you can say it quick like Mississippi. I love that.
That's right.
So I know, tell me, you're Miss Knight, you met her in high school?
I did. We were 16 years old, and I was at a donkey basketball game raising money for a local school. And I was in the stands watching, and the Ole Miss football players were playing and riding the donkeys, and one of the football players had to leave at halftime, so they picked me out of the crowd for whatever reason to play the second half, and I was on this donkey, and I just got the ball thrown to me, and they put shoes on the donkey, and the referee's got a hot stick, and he runs around, and he's trying to put a little bit of energy behind you, and so I'm sitting on this donkey holding this basketball, and I'm kicking it and trying to get it to move, and it won't move. And I saw this beautiful girl walk across the end of the basketball court, and I was mesmerized by her, and I was like, wow. And about that time, the referee hit that donkey with that hot stick and sent me flying. And when I kind of got my wits about me and I looked up, the first thing I looked up was to see if I could see her, and she was gone. And I thought, man, that must have been like a imagination or something, And there was a lady in town that cut my hair. And week or so later, I went to her salon, and she was cutting my hair. And she spun the chair around, and she had a credenza, or had a bookshelf and had pictures on it. And I'm looking at those pictures. Now, I'd been in there before, and I'm looking at those pictures, and I'm like, who's that girl right there? And she said, that's my daughter. I went, get out of here. That's the same girl. I didn't
What?
know it.
Oh
I had
my
no
God.
idea. So over a period of time and a lot of negotiating with my mother, current mother, with my mother-in-law, future mother-in-law at the time, I was able to get a opportunity to take her out on a date. And on the second date, I told her I loved her. And I think I scared her to death. She was like, oh no, what do I do?
Oh my goodness, what a great story. So you saw her first on the back of a donkey. That's crazy.
I did. I did. Yeah, and I came off that donkey pretty quick too. I'll never forget that.
I'm so glad I didn't get picked out of a crowd to get on the back of a donkey. They must have known, they must have looked at you and said, that boy's been on a donkey before.
Yeah. Either that or he's hard headed enough, he'd ride.
Yeah, that's so funny. So you've been with her since you were 16, and tell me about your family. You have a few children, grandchildren.
I have two sons, wonderful sons. I have one that's 34, Cole, and he is bridge foreman with the railroad. And then my youngest son, Reed, is 30, and he's a PA and works in the emergency room at our hospital here in our town. Both of them live here.
Okay.
I have two grandchildren, Ridge, who is 12, and Swayze, who is 11. Now, I just heard they have nicknames. We have a little great nephew. He's about 2.5, and he's learning how to talk. And he couldn't say Ridge and Swayze, so he started calling them Richard and Crazy. And we just all fell in love with that. So that's our two grandchildren's nicknames. We love that. But two wonderful children that we're real blessed to have in our lives. And it is 100% true. Grandchildren are better than children.
Yeah, that's a lot
Period.
of, is that all boys? Two boys and
No, I have a boy and a girl. First girl in our family in 30, long time, 30 something years,
so
34 years.
wait, Crazy is a girl.
Crazy as a girl.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm glad you have a I bet she's got you wrapped around her finger, huh?
Hooked, man, whatever. Just, yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you grew up Mississippi, and now tell me your grandchildren. You like to hunt a little bit, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit more than a lot. Yeah, I like to hunt a lot. Actually, I'm leaving tomorrow, headed to my camp down in South Texas. That's been my passion. Gosh, I guess since I was about 13 or 14. And something about the great outdoors. I'm a big fan of people. People just mean something to me. They always have, they always will. And when you're outdoors and there's no distractions and no phone and no nothing, you really get to know folks, and you get to understand them better. And it's not in the rat race and the chase and all that. And so part of my passion about the great outdoors is the fact of the people. I don't go hunt by myself. I always take somebody. And when you're turkey hunting or deer hunting or whatever it may be, and you're together and you're side by side and it's calm and there's nothing in the way, you find out a lot.
That is so interesting that you are probably with people all the time, day to day in your business. And yet to get close to people, you got to get away from them and get
Mm.
one on one. I love that. That's a good lesson. That's part of the reason I love to fish. I went fishing this weekend with my son, who's who's only 3. So basically, I tried to keep the hook out of both of us. But the fact that we were out there doing it together is just I learned something about him that I didn't know, and he's my son. What a great story. So you had a little bit of business success, and I know I should tell the listeners, by the way, we are in the coastal region of South Carolina. I'm interviewing my good friend who's in Mississippi, Tennessee. He is a broker owner of a real estate franchise out there, a couple of offices, a couple of agents. Nice size organization. You have property management also, and a few other businesses that you do. But you weren't always in the real estate space, right? But you've kind of always been an entrepreneur. Am I right about that? So give me a little, like a thumbnail of your journey from where you
I
go ahead.
spent about 18 years in corporate America, a little bit in AT&T telecommunications, then in the food business with Sara Lee, and then moved into a minority owner in a company called Hayes Outdoors, which is the owner of the brand Mossy Oak.
Okay.
And then from there, I moved into consulting in real estate space and 100% entrepreneurial experience. And the corporate America was an incredible training ground for me. The beauty of, and I don't know if I could say this today, but my strength as an entrepreneur came from corporate America in a lot of different facets. But when I came through corporate America at that time, the big buzzword was to run it like an entrepreneur. I'll never forget that.
Okay.
And corporate America never really ran like it was an entrepreneurial business, but they wanted you to feel like you had ownership in it, and decisions that you made were important to the future of the company. And so it was a great mental play with people like me. And so I think what that did for me more than anything was help me learn how to take ownership to my actions. And as an entrepreneur, as you well know, and many others that hear this will know, is if you don't take actions, you won't be in business long, and you have to take them like that,
Right.
And so for that, I'll always be thankful. It taught me about people. It taught me how to treat people. Oftentimes, because of the bad way in which I saw people get treated, taught me not to treat folks that way in a work environment. Not that anybody was, something was done but bad to them physically or something like that. But when you're trying to make a number and you're 30 days away from that number, I'm a guy that believes you sell your way out of trouble. And they just lay people off and say, well, we'll call you back in 40 days. I'm like, golly, how do you do that? You
Right.
know? And that's just the model. It's not that anybody was bad. It's just the model. And so those kinds of things taught me an awful lot. But the value of people I've had most of my life, but corporate America taught it to me in a different way.
Yeah.
The entrepreneurial space has continued that lesson learning, if you will, of the value of people, and then in the entrepreneurial space, probably in just a short explanation of what people have taught me in there. It's more getting the person in the right seat on the bus.
Right.
Great people, maybe because we're entrepreneurs, the first thing we do is say, well, I've got the dams leaking over here. Let me use them to plug the leak.
Right.
And
Right.
we find out later they did okay, but they really fit great over here, And so you learn that. Uh, and I think that's a valuable lesson that I picked up along the way in the entrepreneurial space.
I love that. How do you figure out what's the right seat? I know it's not a simple answer, maybe, but could you give the listeners a tip on if they are hiring or they are in a space where they might be building a team? How do you get them in the right place? What kind of things do you do?
The first thing I do is make sure I've got a job description and I've got a set responsibility I want these duties to have. And then you watch the individual and you learn where their strengths and weaknesses are. Because when you hired them, oftentimes it was to fill a void, or it was, hey, we're going to grow, but before we grow, I need a little help in this space. And as you watch them work and observe and pay attention to them, you start to figure out that, they have a better skill set with numbers, or more detailed, or, maybe they're categorically better thinkers from a category standpoint. And so maybe they're a visionary, maybe that, and you start to see your weak spots in your business and you just plug and play. And then
Right.
when you get the right person in the right seat on the bus, it's amazing the transition that occurs. It's like a calm comes in.
Yeah.
And when they're not in the right seat, it's got a little chaos play to it sometimes.
So I get what I hear you saying is you put them in and then you pay attention. You're always involved. You have to be involved. You have to watch. You have to analyze. You have to be willing to say, maybe you have to be willing to say that wasn't, there's no ego here, right? You have to be willing to say that might not have been the right one or the right fit. You just have to be willing to admit that and move forward, move them to where they need to be. And I should mention that Sammie has been not only a friend and mentor, but a great coach. He's helped me through some things in our organization and has continued to do that. He doesn't even know how much he's helped, but one of the things I appreciate is your wisdom in this space. I want to ask you a question. It just popped in my head. It's not one I prepared you for, but I know you're a flexible man. What if I could ask you one day, if I met you like we were strangers and I said, hey, like everybody does, hey, Sammie, what do you do for a living? How would you answer that question? Like, how people have small talk and some people might say, I'm a real estate agent or I'm a whatever. What would you say?
Uh, I think I would say I'm an entrepreneur focused at helping people become the absolute best they can in the space that they operate. I mean, that's a long, lengthy answer, but man, there's something, a good feeling when you put the right person in the right place and then you feed them with the right information and knowledge and support, and you push to help them motivate themselves, and then looking over your shoulder. I don't Everybody has an ego. I try to keep mine in check the best I can, but when I pat myself on the back, when I look at the people that I've been fortunate enough to be a part with and see how successful they are. So
Right.
I would say what I try to do is help people be as successful as they possibly can in
Yeah.
whatever space they are. I don't really have a hidden agenda. Maybe in my past I had a few while I was trying to play the climbing game, but I don't have that anymore. And um, so my agenda is to watch you. And I say this a lot. It 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 makes me a whole lot happier to see you successful than me.
Yeah.
That just fires me up. And so I think I would be saying that what I do for a living is try to help people be as successful as they possibly can.
Yeah. I think that I knew that's where you were going to go. And I'm so glad you answered it that way because you might know somebody for, I don't know how long it might be before you even mention real estate. Like it's not even, that just happens to be where you are sometimes. And you do some coaching, right? You do
I
some
do.
entrepreneurial coaching. Tell me a little bit about that. That's not just in the real estate space, right? I'm not trying to promote you or give you a commercial, but tell me, what is it about that and what do you do?
So the coaching that I do is both business and personal, so professional and personal. So many times I think you have to be willing to go to the personal side. So many times the reason we have trouble professionally is because we have something blocking us personally. And you spend a little bit of time talking to somebody and it starts to kind of eke out. When you start to hear about things that maybe cause them to be guarded, to keep their guard up in every part of business. And, you never really get 100% successful till you take that guard down just a little bit. You don't have to take it all the way down, and you have to keep it. So you have to bring it back up. You can bring it back up. But once you start to get that down and people start to look inside, there's nothing you can't do. My dad told me a long time ago, he said, son, and he was the most positive thinker on the planet. And he said, son, you can do anything you want to do. You just have to believe in yourself and then go after it. Anything you want to do. And I was a guy that I just thought I'd work for somebody the rest of my life and I'd retire one day. I didn't think about anything else. The company's going to take care of me. And I didn't really have to do that till I lost my job at AT&T because of cutbacks. And all of a sudden I had to go through this motion of going, well, what do I want to be? And what am I about? And what skills do I have? And so I'm a big believer that you can do anything you want. So in the coaching, we spend time on that. We spend time about pure tactics in business, all tactical. And spend a lot of time with, right now I've got several and we're talking about budgeting and planning and these are successful business people, entrepreneurs, and their different definition sometimes of planning was beating yesterday's numbers. And that's a great thing to have, but you really need to see what a year from now looks like if you beat those numbers. And then as you're going through the process of your current year operating and you see something that you had as your budget that you're probably not going to be able to pull off, but you still think it's critical, move it. Put it in 2024. And if you'll start this process in the future, you'll have a 3 and a 5 year plan. That may not be ironclad and you modify it along the way too, but when you start to think that way and you start to build your expenses around that, and if I want to grow, this is what it's going to take. And all of a sudden, it's a different mindset. And so that's what we're doing right now with most of the coaching clients I have. We're getting next year's budgets done. Some have stepped up, some haven't. It's kind of like dragging them to the fight, and saying, you're going to have to fight now. He's going to be tough, but you're going to have to fight him. So stand up.
Yeah.
But
Do you coach people in different professions, or is it all real estate?
no, it's across the board. I have people in e-commerce and real estate. I have folks in fitness. I have folks in have a couple of doctors. Doctors traditionally are poor business people.
Right.
Great doctors, but poor business people. But I have some that are great business people as well, and they realize they built a heck of a business. Now, how do I take it to the next level? I have some contractors. I have some people that own some pool contractor businesses, real estate folks as well, and investors. Kind of a mix.
Yeah.
But everybody's got the same challenge.
Right.
Truthfully, doesn't matter the industry you're in. If you boil it down, all the industry is a product.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of little, unique elements of each industry, but at the end of the day, you got sales, you got profits, you got expenses. You got branding, you got marketing. All of them have those same elements. It's just a different product.
That's
So
interesting.
it's fun. Keeps me young.
If you live or own property along the coast of South Carolina, you probably need insurance. We Insure Advocates is a locally owned independent agency with industry-leading service support. Our team of customer-centric agents can explain your coverage options and help you craft an insurance program that fits your needs and budget. Data-driven for better value, people-led for better service. That's the difference of we. For all of your property insurance needs, please find us at weinsureadvocates.com or call us at 843-491-6990. Yeah, that's interesting. That's one of the things I appreciate about you is that it, and I think that the listeners could learn from this too, is that it's these principles are universal. There's nuances within each genre maybe, but it's just universal. And I loved what you said. I hope people would spend a few minutes looking at, and I'm trying to get better at this. The personal is not separate from the professional. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. I think once you're willing to deal with the personal, then the professional follows, not vice versa. And you said that. And I know that when you and I spent some time together, when we do, that's where you go first. You're always asking about Mandy and the kids and then the people that I'm surrounded by. And I would encourage our listeners to don't hide behind it. You'll see horizons that you've never seen if you allow that to happen. So I appreciate that.
I always try to ask about the personal first, because I can tell if you've been instantly, if there's the slightest bit of challenge, then when I ask you about the business and how did things go last week or whatever the case may be, and there was a challenge, I guarantee you it was because the productivity was affected because something was on your mind. Mm-hmm. You got to keep that mind clear. And, you've heard me say this, I'm a big believer before you go to bed, write down everything on your head so you can go to sleep.
Right.
And then pick it up tomorrow.
You do that? You literally have a pad by your bed?
Every day.
Do you really?
It's in my phone. I write in my notes section in my phone.
And just clear your
every
head.
Day.
Whatever's on your head, you just put it down there.
I go to bed at night, lay my head on the pillow, and I'm asleep within 10 seconds. My wife will tell you that. And when I get up in the morning, and it ranges, it may be 3 a.m. all the way to 5 a.m. I shoot for 4:30. That's the first thing I pick up is what I got to do. Then I do my meditation. I set it back down and go, okay, this is what I got to do. Then I meditate, spend my time with my God, say my prayers, make my coffee, try to get a little exercise, and then I pick it back up because it was on my mind when I got up first. I set it down. I get all this head clearing, and then I pull it back up, and I go, oh, yeah, I got that. Every day. I've done it for 35 years.
Maybe there's the tip that we needed to hear to make a successful Rise Up Nation. That's a good one. Here's a guy that's been doing entrepreneurial business for a lot of years, and he's still writing down notes before he goes to bed. And I could learn from that. And rather than scrolling through social media, maybe I need to do a little bit more of that. I love that.
Well, think about it when you have a bad night of sleep.
Yeah.
It makes for a long day.
It does. The
rest is critical.
Yeah, I think that's an overlooked. My wife would agree with that right now. So I like to ask 3 questions to every person that blesses us with their appearance, and I'm going to ask you these. And I kind of know this about you, and you might have already touched on it. But what is, if you had to say, and I know you don't love talking about yourself, but tell me what's your superpower? If you had one, what would people say is Sammie's superpower?
But I think what most would say is my ability to build relationships with people and get to know you. And once I get to know you, I understand what your needs may be. And if I'm selling something to you in your business, once I get to understand what the needs of the business are, I can sell you better. So I would say if I have a superpower, it would be building relationships. But I don't want to say that without closing that part with, the magic to building a relationship is the other person. not me. You have to be willing to let me get to know you. And if you're the slightest bit willing, I can get in there.
Yeah.
I'll
That's
figure it out.
that is when you ask a humble guy a question like that, that's what you get. Did you guys just hear what just happened? He's great at that, relating to people, but he gave the credit to the other person, which I love. That just said everything about you, Sammie. I love that. You're humble, and we don't meet people like you every day. So you probably said you got that right. Hey,
No,
you
no,
guys
you're
definitely have
awful
to
kind.
follow him on social media for sure, because he just put a biscuit recipe. I put a picture of biscuits on there, knock your socks off. Let's get to the real story here. But find him on social media, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Tell me a good book, Sammie. You got one? Maybe you like Audible, maybe you like podcasts or something, but throw one out there that we can put in the show notes that's meant something to you. Anything?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of mentors, and I mentioned that in my book. That's not a plug by no means, but the mentors and the people in my life that have made such a difference. I read a little bitty book a long time ago called Tuesdays with Maury, and it's about a gentleman that was dying, and this person that was in a class with him, and he visited with Maury every day, every Tuesday. Have you read it?
Yes,
It is
sir. Yes, sir.
one of my favorite books, and it's just a little book. It's not a lot to it. You're not going to get a revelation about how to launch the rocket ship, but it's just how people and what people mean to others, and you think about it, if you could mean that much to somebody along the way, then it was a good run.
Yeah, that's a life changer for sure, and it's not long. It won't take you long to read it. Pick that one up. Tuesdays with Maury. I think that's written by the same guy that wrote the Energy Bus and
Yep.
all of that. So that's a good one. And I do want to. I know you're not about self promotion, but my friend Sammie just is releasing his first book right now, which I love that. I didn't even know this is how humble this dude is. I'm with him a lot. And I didn't even know he's writing a book. So I see it on social media that he's got a book called Behind the Gate. Is that right?
Yeah, I just got my first paperback copy.
Look at there. Look at there. Oh my God. When can I get my first one? I want to have one. Can I get
Give
one?
me
Is that
that. Give me that address. I'll send you a special one.
oh, all right? Good, good. I'll do it. So it's called Behind the
Yeah,
Gate. What inspired that, Sammie? I'm so proud of you. Winners win. I love it.
yeah. Um, well, I was inspired by a guy named Ryan Stewman to write it. I always wanted to. I'm from a town where a lot of authors. John Grisham's from here. William Faulkner, Willie Morris, Larry Brown. So
There you go.
we had we had people get famous around here writing, and I didn't write that because of some fame or something, but at the end of the day, I think everybody has a book. And my dad told me a long time ago. I'll tell you this quick story, and I've said it a lot, so hopefully I don't bore you, and I may have told you, but
No, tell
when
me.
I was 14 years old, my dad and I attended a family member funeral, and we went to the cemetery in a little town south of here. And we were walking out. Of course, 14 years old, you're thinking about not stepping on the graves, and weaving your way around. And my dad stopped me as we were walking out, and he pointed to a gentleman he went to school with, and he said, "See that headstone?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Read it." And it said, "Good father, good friend, good husband." And I read it out loud, and he said, "That's important while you're here." I said, "Oh, yes, sir." And I'm thinking about getting out of that cemetery as fast as I can,
Yes, sir.
and I turned to walk away, and he says, "But I want you to remember something. What's really important is when you leave this earth, that everything you learn, you leave it here so the next generation can be better." And probably a few years later, that may have come up in a conversation. I had forgotten it, most likely. And my dad said, "You thought about what I said?" And I said, "What?" So he had to remind me. And he said, "I'm going to tell you the best way I know." He said, if you don't share that information you learn, good or bad, to make the next generation better, you're being selfish. I'll
Wow.
never forget that. And
Wow.
so that, coupled with somebody pushing me a little bit, made me go, I can't be selfish anymore. I gotta. Plus, I'm 64, so I'm on the other side of the ridge, But and it was so fun to write it, and the guy that kind of pushed me to do it said, if you got one book in you, you got three. And I will tell you, while I was writing this one, the second one I wrote, and it's going to manuscript form now, and the third one I'm about a third of the way through already.
Wow.
And it's kind of fun. It's fun, You're reliving everything in your past. But my goal, and that's where the name came behind the gate, is like I said earlier, you put your guard up. If you can ever get that down a little, you learn so much about the other person, and at the same time, they learn a lot about you. And what's interesting is you really learn a lot about yourself too.
Yes, sir.
Because that other person may point a few things out, especially if you're honest with each other, that make you go, ooh, I need to fix that.
That's really
Because we
cool.
all have those things. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Behind the Gate, Sammie Knight, and then you can find that on. I saw it on Amazon. You can get the Kindle version on there now, and I'm sure
And the paperbacks there. Yep.
paperback's there now. Good, that's
Yeah.
incredible. And if you got to follow Sammie on social media too, because you'll see his Sammieisms. And when I saw Behind the Gate, I thought you couldn't have picked a more perfect title. Whoever helped you with that, or if that was inspired by you, because I picture you as a farm boy opening up the gate to your farm and letting people in. And I don't know if that's where it came from, but it's similar to what you just said. We all need to open up that gate, me included. So, man, I appreciate just listening to this. Every time I listen to my own podcast, I've interviewed one of my friends, and this will happen with this episode. I interviewed Lori White, and I literally listened to her episode back. Pamela Craigbaum the same way, and I got goosebumps listening to my own podcast. And it's because I have
That's cool.
quality human beings like you, buddy, on here. I want to close with this last question, and then I could do 3 episodes, maybe 3 on your 3 books. I want you guys to get that book. Tell us what you do every day. The title of our podcast is Rise Up. And what do you do every day? You kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago, but what is it that you do every day to rise above the mediocrity in the world and just what's going on day to day that puts you at an elevated level to do all the things that you do in a day to day?
I think the start to my day now, and I can't say this all my life, but the start to my day today, and I went through part of it, puts me in a place so that throughout the entire day, whatever challenge comes to me, whether it be staffing, whether it be me, whether it be family, whatever it may be, it causes me to rise up every day and be better, because our job is to be better for those around us. Because if we're not, then how do they see what better looks like?
Right.
If everybody, you always hear people talking about surround yourself with great people and you'll be great too. So my job is to be as good as I can so that I can help them, more so than me. So it puts me there. It's where my head's at when I start my day.
Yeah. What time do you go to bed at night, Sammie?
I'm not afraid to go to bed at 8 o'clock, but sometimes it's 9 or 10.
And you get
And
up
then
at
I'm
4:30.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good lesson for those of us that are on the hamster wheel going full speed, and you feel like you have to have every second. You got to have some time. I appreciate what you said. You have some. I love that dumping the list. That's awesome. And get up and look at it, and then you have some time to yourself, exercise, and get on with it.
Your hamster wheel analogy that you just gave, I think we all do it. Nobody's immune to it. But it when you find yourself on there, you have to mentally and emotionally get off that wheel, because when you're on it, in my opinion, you're 60% productive.
Okay.
And the second you get off it, get that head straight, get that chaos under control, you go back up to 100% productive. So your productivity rises. So oftentimes when we find ourselves on that hamster wheel, we're working till we close our eyes at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can teach yourself how to get off of it, you'll get the same amount of work done in a reasonable time, and you'll go home, you'll have supper with your family, you'll play with your children, you'll go to bed, get a good night's rest. So tomorrow you'll be a whole lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, as you're talking right now, it's amazing. I feel like we've just had a fireside chat. It's just two of us on a prairie, getting ready for the next day's hunt by the fire, just talking. You have this unique ability to make someone feel like the only person in the world. And I so appreciate that about you. I know my listeners have gotten a ton out of this, and your gift to us today was just being here. And I really appreciate it. I want you to tell me how we can find you. I know my listeners are going to want to look up. I want you to spell your name and tell me what's the best way to get a hold of you if we need to, like on social media or whatever.
Yeah, Facebook, I'm Sammie, Sammie Knight, Knight. And Instagram is my nickname, Tiger, Tiger Knight 58, or at Tiger Knight 58. And just DM me. Most importantly, reach out to somebody every day and try to help their day be better. If you'll do that, we win.
We do win. Winners win, buddy. And thank you for being here. I'm so happy and proud for you about your book, and can't wait till I can hug your neck again, man. You've been fun to see. And I will, I know my Rise Up Nation is happy to know you too. So thanks, Sammie, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's an honor. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.